Welcome to the Weather Farm. I'm your meteorologist, Christopher Hale. We're glad you've joined us. Our current temperature here in northeastern Hendricks County, outside of Brownsburg, we sit at 67 degrees. Dew point is at 51, which means it's comfortable evening across most of west central Indiana. If we take a look around the four-county region, we see temperatures at the top of the hour. Crawfordsville, you're sitting at 74. Rochdale, you've cooled down to 68. Looking across Boone County, Lebanon 73, but off to your northeast, temperatures have cooled into the mid-60s as they have here at the Weather Farm. Danville, down in Hendricks County, you're sitting at 72. Temperatures will generally be in the upper 50s to low 60s across the four-county region. Looking around the region at the top of the hour, Indianapolis, you were sitting at 80 degrees at 8 o'clock. Terre Haute 79, Evansville 81. Look across eastern Kentucky there, we have temperatures in the mid to upper 60s. That is due to the rain and the cloud cover from the remnants of the tropical system that has moved onshore. And we can see that here in the radar as that system continues to move onshore. It comes through Virginia, West Virginia, into parts of eastern Kentucky. But as it approaches Indiana, the precipitation is kind of running into a wall. It's not really moving much into our region, and we don't expect any precipitation overnight. And that's due to the dry air that is in place across most of our area. We saw this last weekend with Tropical Storm Francine. As it moved up from the Gulf, it ran into the dry air that has been constantly persistent across most of Indiana over the last 2 to 3 weeks. In fact, here at the Weather Farm, we have yet to record any measurable precipitation for the month of September. It's that dry air that allows the temperature to warm up quickly during the day and cool off quickly at night. And we can see that here with our dew point map. So when we look at dew points across the area, we see dew points across most of Indiana in the 40s and 50s, but look across eastern Kentucky where that rain was, dew points are in the low 60s. Just enough moisture and enough humidity in the air that's allowing that precipitation to give a few sprinkles across our far southeastern parts of our viewing area. Again, looking across the area, we look at our hazards map. No real hazardous weather is expected over the next 24 to 48 hours. And speaking of tropics, let's look at the tropics. So we see the remnants of what was the tropical depression Gordon. It's kind of falling apart, becoming disorganized. No development over the next 48 hours. But over the next week, the National Hurricane Center has given a 40 to 60% chance of development. Right now it's disorganized, but as we look at day 5, day 6, it may get its act together. It'll be in a little more favorable condition with the upper air winds and everything out there. So no real shear to tear it apart. So it may get its act together. The other area we're kind of watching is off the Yucatan here. It has a less than 40% chance of development over the next 7 days. It's highly disorganized at this point, and there's no signs that any organization is going to happen with it, but it just bears mind an area to keep watching over the next week. Looking at our upper level air pattern, we see across parts of Wyoming and the Dakotas and into western Nebraska down into Kansas and eastern Colorado, we see a nice line of storms moving their way across this evening. But here across Indiana and Illinois, we have calm weather. Nice, relatively calm winds. We do see a few sprinkles, as I said, making their way into eastern Kentucky with the remnants of that tropical system that has come onshore. But most of the eastern half of the U.S. remains very calm, and it will be that way for the next 4 to 5 days. And we can see that here. We look at our upper air map. We see this ridge of high pressure that's been over the Central Plains. There is a trough that's digging across California. As that trough moves, it's going to kick that ridge east, and it's going to allow the winds to turn out of the south and southwest later in this week, and it's going to pump warmer air temperatures. But by the beginning of next week, that trough that was so pronounced kind of flattens out a little bit. But we see another one kind of digging right behind its heels, diving further down across the central plains, and as that is the indication that by this time next week, we could see a change in our overall weather pattern here. No longer having temperatures in the 80s and 90s, but we can have temperatures maybe in the 70s or even below average for this time of year. So let's take a look at our temperatures over the next several days. Tonight we're forecasting a low of 63 in Indianapolis, upper 50s across the outlying areas. For tomorrow, temperature is 85 in Indianapolis, mid 80s really across most of Indiana at this time. For tomorrow night, almost a little, maybe a degree or two warmer. Temperatures in the mid 60s in Indianapolis, low 60s in the outlying areas. And then looking at the next day, on to Thursday, temperatures again, almost a carbon copy. Those winds are going to be out of the east and the north for Wednesday and Thursday, but by Friday, those winds have switched from the south. That's going to bump our temperatures up to near 90. I do think this model is a little aggressive in that, but 90s are definitely possible across most of Missouri on Friday. But I think for us here in the Indianapolis area, we don't make our run at 90 until about Saturday or Sunday. We can see that in our 10-day or 7-day forecast. Temperatures in the mid 80s the next couple days, warming to 88 on Friday, making a run at 90 over the weekend. But by next week, as I mentioned, that deep trough digging across the plains is going to signal a change in our weather, a rainier pattern. Thank you for joining us here at the Weather Farm. We hope to see you soon.